Shut off. Ready?
Oh, it's already leaking gas. Should be. There it goes. There you go. Come on, baby, do it. It's trying. It's going back up again. What do you think? It'll take the run out? Or is it going to seize up? Going. That might be it. That's it. It's gonna go back up. It's trying. Let go! Let go! It's almost there. That's my... Oh! No.
Seized up.
I don't know if it sees though.
It's not going fast enough to do it.
Doesn't like that.
Oh.
Of course. You killed it.
Killed it.
You die now.
I'm tired.
20 minutes later.
Hold it. I don't want to die.
The smoke. Damn it. That's it. Oh! That really took a lot. Oh, that's it.
It's gone.
Goodbye.
Yes.
Balls are flying around.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it broke the rod. It didn't break the block though.
Nope.
Block's intact. No?
Dude, that valve cover is steaming hot.
That thing took a bunch of freaking abuse. That took a lot longer than I thought it would.
Way longer.
All right, well, she's over.
That was cool though.
Yeah, that was totally worth it. Let me shut the gas off. I'm surprised it didn't catch on fire. I think I was fully expected it to catch on fire. But yeah, you heard that. You're like, that's it.
Yep.
That's a death call right there.
Yep.
She's toast.
And she wanted out.
So, yeah, we can just steal all the parts off of this. We don't borrow everything we want off of it. And then junk everything else. Okay, guys, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and take this engine apart and steal all the parts we can off of it so we can use them for future projects. And kind of get a look at the damage here, what actually happened. The engine's been cooling off for about 3 hours or so it's still actually warm, believe it or not. Upon opening it, it does have oil in it. It's all full of metal in the oil, but the parts actually just don't seem that terribly bad. I mean, that's a plastic cam gear there, and it feels intact. Nothing's beat up. The only thing that really let loose was that rod bearing came apart. And when I do pull it out here, the rod bearing is all scraped up really, really bad. Now, the reason for this failure is because the last owner who owned the go-kart that this was on had removed the governor, didn't change the oil, kept the stock springs, revved the hell out of it, obviously. And unfortunately, that does a lot of damage to the motor. But, to the rod mainly. That's where the weakness is on this motor, is that rod where it connects. If any dirt or anything gets into that journal there, it's going to just beat it up really fast and cause a knock. So that's why you got to keep sure to keep your oil clean on these motors, as they can get dirty very quickly. And just the way they designed the KT186 was probably the reason why this happened, is because the oil, where the oil comes out, is hard to get to. So a lot of people kind of neglect the motor. So now I'm going to use my impact here to go ahead and remove the valve cover and look at the head assembly and stuff like that, which it didn't look too terrible. I mean, honestly, I expected to see, parts like warping or anything from heat, but overall, I mean, everything looked pretty dang good. I didn't see anything that screamed at me that it was a point of failure. The PTO shaft bearing, that was all fine. Lots of good parts to pull off this motor, which is always good, especially if you ride a lot. It's always good to have all these extra parts that you can pull off. Obviously, I'll keep the head and the valve assembly and stuff like that, because I can possibly pull parts off of that depending if I have a failure. I generally haven't. I mean, I take care of my motor, so I don't have the problems that this person did. That's why I didn't really want to stick with this motor on the go-kart that I was running. It was already smoking out of the crankcase valve, so it was having a lot of blow-by on the piston already. So between the blow-by and the piston and the rod knock, it was only a matter of time for this motor before it let go. So I'm just pulling out the head bolts now so I can pull the head assembly off. Just 4 bolts is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those out, and then I should be able to just wiggle that off as long as I've gotten all the parts off. Maybe I missed something here. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was didn't. I guess I expected to see more. I mean, I remember Briggs and Stratton motors and stuff like that when they came apart. Man, everything you open it, and you just had a pile of parts usually inside the crank area. But this literally all it broke was the rod, and that was it. So just trying to free the head here. It has all these heat shields on it that are holding it in place. There it is. So I pull it off. I mean, head gasket's a little smoked. Valves a little smoked, but nothing like screaming that they're terrible or that, they were in really bad shape or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, overall, I'm kind of shocked at how good the motor actually looks. Now there's the money shot on the rod where it came apart, but the rings actually didn't feel terrible considering that they were leaking compression. I think it had more to do with a hone on the bore because it was super smooth. Like there was no hone left on it. So I think that was where it was getting blow by. Was the fact that it just overheated there, or the just dirt getting into there had eaten it up. Anyways, there's just some close-up photos of the crankshaft and I'm sorry, the bearing and the piston. And if you guys like this, go ahead and watch more and subscribe. Thanks for watching.